Providence in their dark road uniforms. Syracuse in the home whites. Kipfer could not hold on, but Delray Brooks of the Friars comes up with it. First possession for Providence. Kipfer.
Good dish inside. Syracuse starts man-to-man. Here comes the press.
And it knocked the ball back out of bounds.
Providence will press full court every time that they score. It's relentless.
Pop Lewis 3 was an air ball. Here's Monroe. He's the #2 shooting guard. He puts up a 3 and hits it.
End of depth perception from that angle. That's the toughest shot out here because you look right up into the scoreboard.
Jacek Duda. Here's David Kipfer, the Canadian, goes to the left hand. They pound away, and we've got the first foul underneath. Now that goes against Duda. Paul Galvin out of Fort Worth, Texas is the referee. Louis Grillo of Washington and Don Rutledge out of Windermere, Florida are the other 2 officials on the floor.
Comes that zone pressure. Good pass up to Trish.
Monroe off a fake gets inside. Now Sherman Douglas brings it back and sets the table.
And here you see the 2-3 matchup zone that Providence uses so well. Syracuse likes to go inside against his zone.
Monroe's 3. Providence comes away with the defensive rebound. Delray Brooks. Donovan gets it back to him.
Great pass.
It's Duda. Kipfer's rebound, and he has both of Providence's field goals.
Well, everybody talks about Providence three-point shooting, but what destroyed Georgetown was the inside play. Well, they've really taken Douglas out of the press.
Pitino on the sideline, barking defensive calls. Douglas to Cycley. Trish underneath.
Set play for the lob that time to Ronnie Cycley. Douglas does that as well as anybody in the country. He goes off the drive and lays it up on the board.
Donovan off. Coleman.
Brent, we're looking for a game in the 90s here. Good pass.
Cycley fouled. He'll come to the free throw line.
There was a day, Brent, when people were taught don't dribble against the zone. And against a matchup zone like this, when you've got a penetrator like Douglas, it's a great weapon. He just splits the zone and goes inside.
Kipfer is assessed his first personal, and Pitino substitutes for the first time. He may substitute up to 50 times in this game. Marty Conlon, the freshman from Bronxville, New York, is 6'10", checks in, and Steve Wright, 6'5", number 44, out of Syracuse.
Keep an eye on Steve Wright. He had a big game at Syracuse, 15 points and 14 rebounds, and he's played extremely well in the tournament.
Willie, is there any way that Providence can get Cycley into foul trouble? That seems to be such a key that other coaches talk about.
Well, here's one way. Get it to Steve Wright early, let him pump fake against him, but he's got to make some.
Cycley comes out with the rebound. Here's Douglas.
You know, and Brenton talking about foul trouble, Cycley's mental attitude has been so good during the tournament. He hasn't gone for that.
He wanted Coleman underneath on the lob. When they got the foul on Lewis. So already there are 3 team fouls against Providence.
One of the things we'll see, now see this play right here? I think referees have to be very careful with that. That ball is in the cylinder when guys go up to dunk. And what you see in the part of Douglas, he puts the ball almost as if he's shooting it. But then with Coleman and Cycley coming from behind the zone, they just merely jam it through. To me, it's almost an illegal play.
Now the call was against Syracuse. Coleman, let me correct what I said. That was against Syracuse. That's why they're coming down this way. And Derek Brower checks in along with Stevie Thompson. And Carlton Screen, who's on the floor, and the banging underneath, it'll go against Wright. He came up over the back.
One of the things that has made Syracuse so much more effective this year in the past is they can go play somebody man-to-man. They used to rely on their primary defense strictly as a zone. Going long.
Quickly to Douglas. Off Brower's hands, but it was hit by Providence.
That was a good job by Billy Donovan. As a great playmaker that he is, he also can anticipate on a defensive basis to go and be in the line of the pass. Broke that one up nicely. Still in that 2-3 matchup zone. The players play an area of the court, but they're also conscious of where the offensive players are.
Deflected. Thompson runs it down. Now they trap him. Got to come out, and he muscles it to Trish. Pull-up jumper. And Brower handles it and throws it out of bounds. On the turnover, it'll go to Providence.
Tough break for Syracuse. The pass was intended for Stevie Thompson. Coleman didn't realize he was behind him and just tipped it away.
Syracuse ahead of Providence, 6-4. 16-14 to go, first half.
Carlton's screen in the ball game really helps Providence. When he went out with that knee injury, they needed him as a backup at the guard position. Now he's back and playing well.
They missed 2 shots that trip, and the Orangemen come down.
Screen was a little tentative on that jumper, pulled up on it.
Douglas, right rebound. Douglas slows up Donovan, but he gets around him. Here's Lewis with the 3. Brower trying to run it down, was able to save it.
It's the 3rd pass I've seen thrown between somebody's legs today.
So Cycli getting an early rest in this confrontation. Syracuse 2 of 6 offensively.
Sherm Douglas at 6'1" can go in among the trees and get that shot off. He shoots it on the way up. That's why he's so quick with it.
Providence is cold. They are only 2 of 11 here in the early minutes of this national semifinal. Donovan still cold. Trish.
Brent, it looked like Donovan was looking for the pass as opposed to the shot there.
Thompson and Douglas with that quickness.
Good hands by Pop Lewis. His team is very well trained to go ahead and keep those hands moving all the time without committing a foul. Players are kind of exhausted here, Brent. A little mental fatigue early.
Trish
got fouled on the shot.
Thompson offensive rebound, and a foul goes against Kipfer. That's his first.
Thompson has been wearing a big heavy bandage on his shooting hand. It's not on there today. A lot of people were kidding him about shooting better with the bandage than he has with it off.
Now mass substitution, so Marty Conlon, Abdul Shamsi Dean, Darrell Wright, Delray Brooks in for Pitino. Ronnie Cycli has returned. Greg Monroe back in the game, and you got a view of Billy Donovan, who will sit for the time being. Billy, I'm going to put you in charge of substitutions.
I think it's just key to say, hey, they're going to be 5-on-5 most of this game. The players will be interchangeable.
So Jim Boeheim electing to give Cycli an early break here because the players, as Billy pointed out, seem to be sweating heavily in the early minutes because of the nervousness. Thompson traveled on the turnover. It'll go to Providence. That's the 4th turnover in this game. Now, Providence's problem so far, they have missed their last 7 shots, and they have not scored a field goal here in the last 4 minutes. They have only a pair of field goals. It's 8-4. Kipfer's hit them both.
Green's got to realize he's going to be open some. He ought to take some of those shots. He's looking to pass.
Both teams trying to shake that early nervousness. Conlon coming up with it. Shamsi Dean, he'll surprise you because he'll come with the left hand.
Both coaches want to sit down their star guards early here to give them a rest. Figuring the pace of this game may be a little strong early. Good double team.
Thompson more a penetrator than a 3-point. Here's the 3-point shooter for Syracuse. That's Monroe, gave it up to Thompson. Trish will move his shot around against the double team into Cycli. And back to Trish. Nice baseline corner shot by Howard Trish.
That's where that senior maturity really helps.
Knocked away.
Good hands.
Cycli forces it, and it's Screen who gets it back. The freshman comes up on Trish and draws the foul.
Jimmy Boeheim is going to get Douglas back in the game, and that's where it really hurts when they don't have him on the floor, because Monroe is really a second guard that's not used to bringing it up the court. That's why Screen took it away from him.
Some of you may remember how Providence was beaten badly, really, by Georgetown in the Big East tournament final, and then eliminated Georgetown in the Southeast Regional title game recently, 88-73. Well, one of the big differences in that game is at the free throw line right now. Carlton Screen. He can give Donovan some bench rest. He was unable to do that in the Big East Championship because of a knee problem. He underwent arthroscopic surgery on a Sunday. They put him in a swimming pool. He was swimming for 3 days, and he was back running and playing the following week. So arthroscopic surgery again works another miracle for an athlete. Has trouble at that free throw line. Maybe the depth perception is bothering him at this end, Billy.
I think they're all just a little bit nervous and psyched up. I was on the elevator with Screen and his mom that day, and he thought he wouldn't be back till next year. It's great to see him back there.
He'll take a break, and you got a glimpse of Donovan, who has returned here for Coach Rick Pitino.
Donovan's got to be the key right now. Start hitting some shots, loosen things up. There's Syracuse in their patented 2-3 zone.
Providence, the leading three-point shooting team, and that's the first one they have hit here today. It is Darrell Wright. They are 1 of 5 in shooting threes. They shoot 43% on the year from three-point range.
And Wright is a 46% three-point shooter.
The lob to Coleman.
Boy, those two guys have it down to a science. Coleman and Douglas.
Douglas can get closer to the hoop and use the lob better than anybody I've seen in the college game in some time.
I'd agree with you there. He has it. He really has it down to a science. Syracuse goes back now to man-to-man. Very aggressive man-to-man defense.
This is what turned around one of the games. Syracuse was trailing late, and Jim Boeheim came with the man-to-man. Those of you who follow Syracuse or Coach Jim Boeheim know that he features the zone defense. He knows an awful lot about it. But against Providence, to rally the Orangemen, he has used the man-to-man, and here it forces a turnover.
Jimmy was at the Final Four as an assistant coach with Syracuse. Johnny Wooden's last year when he won the championship.
Cycli finds the open man. Monroe's three.
That's what the three-point play has done for college basketball. When you slough in and a man holds his ground and you throw opposite, it's a very big weapon.
It's 15-9. We have 11:35 first half. The winner will play for the championship Monday night. Our start time Monday is 8 o'clock Eastern time. Donovan bangs in his first field goal of the game. Lead pass to Douglas. He's got Cycli on the left.
Good job by Wright. He actually faked Douglas out by coming towards the ball.
Delray Brooks. That's a two. He was stepping on the line when he went in the air and pulled the trigger.
Poorest percentage shot in college basketball. To take that shot 1/2 a step inside the three-point line.
Another turnover. That's 6 by Syracuse. Providence doing what they have done all year. Pressure all over the floor. Traveling, it'll go over. So we are live from the Superdome, the granddaddy, the grandest dome of them all here in New Orleans. This is the first of our 2 national semifinals. Indiana and Las Vegas will play in the second game, along with Billy Packer, Jim Nance, and James Brown. I'm Brent Musburger. A pleasure to have you along here this afternoon. Both teams shot poorly in the early moments. Syracuse leads it by 2. They are coming up against the Providence pressure.
Hey, Pop Lewis is really good at those double teams.
Monroe's three.
Great block out by Conlon.
Screen is open. Douglas gets back, and Screen scores anyway.
Double team's tough. Conlon coming there to help, and Donovan. Almost every time they get the double team, they got one big man and one small one.
On the floor for Providence, Kipfer, Lewis, Donovan, Screen, and Duda. Jacek Duda has returned. Providence has run off 6 straight to tie this game. Douglas gets it back for Syracuse. He's a gutty performer, not afraid to go in there against anybody. Kipfer battles out Monroe.
He has to be careful with that ball. There it goes again.
Screen almost able to come up with it, but he steps out of bounds directly in front of us.
Sherman Douglas has a great deal of stamina, but he is tired now.
In only his 2nd year, Rick Pitino brings the Providence Friars and Billy Donovan into the Final Four. Donovan so far has been held to 2 points, but he has dished out 4 assists. In the early moments of this game, Providence 7 of 18, 39%. Syracuse with the ball, 7 of 15, 47%.
Check something out. Man-to-man defense by Providence. Just one timeout.
Coleman on the turnaround. Thompson couldn't get the ball to fall, but he will step up to the free throw line. Pitino complaining that it was Thompson who threw his man off. So in the early stages, summary would show what Providence has done from the field. The leading scorers, Monroe and Kipfer. Kipfer scored Providence's first 2 field goals.
Here's Stevie Thompson on the line, a very poor free throw shooter. And he hits that one. Jimmy Boeheim figures every one of those are a bonus.
Coleman takes away the missed free throw.
And they go back to the zone. Showed the man-to-man one time.
Here's Cycli with that jump hook.
Nice defense by Wright.
Donovan in the middle. Wright gets it up high. Fine shot by Steve Wright. The Wrights, incidentally, are not related.
Here comes that full court press. Good dish off.
Lob it. Cycli on the left. And Cycli will come back up to the free throw line.
Now, what Monroe wanted to happen there was to get Wright to commit himself, but Wright really did a great job defensively. Now, we'll see this at the end of the press. Watch Wright as the safety man. He goes back into the hole right away. As he gets back there, he fakes, and then he tries to go ahead and get in the way of the passing lane. Did a good job defensively, and that's why Cycli didn't have the lob dunk.
And perhaps our first significant statistic, the 3rd personal foul on Steve Wright, the 6'9" junior. So he will sit down. 16 fouls on Providence at the 8:59 mark, and only 2 on Syracuse. Now, Syracuse normally not a good free throw shooting team. Coleman, though, has fielded a couple of misses, gets the roll, and he'll have a chance to complete the 3-point play.
Brent, this young fella, I think, considered by most, along with J.R. Reed, as the 2 top freshmen in the country this year. There may be some that argue, but without question, he's got all-American caliber play in him. And that's the 2nd time that he's been able to get an offensive rebound off that inside game.
Trish returns. Thompson sits down. In the tournament, Coleman is shooting 85% from the free throw line. Not that bad. Shamsuddin, who checked in, pulls it away. Syracuse only 3 of 7 from the free throw line.
That has been their Achilles heel the last couple of years from the line. They're doing a good job in the man-to-man, putting a lot of pressure, taking away the 3-point shooting of Providence, and as well as doing a good job inside.
Kipfer gets inside. Cycli came over, avoided the foul, but Kipfer scored the field goal. They hit Douglas in the open floor. He has Cycli on the left and Monroe trailing.
He thought maybe he could get Monroe for a 3-point shot, but Pop Lewis did a good job.
Here's Cycli maneuvering, and Shamsuddin comes over and stuffs him. Kipfer. Trish and the Orangemen come down with a 21-19 lead here at the 8-minute mark, first half. Coleman. That's 6 points.
Dean has to be aware of that left hand because he curled right back in on him.
Donovan inside. Shamsuddin, and Coleman comes away. Providence continues to be cold from the field. It has been the key story of the first half. Syracuse ball.
I think one of the reasons they've been cold is because Syracuse is playing great man-to-man defense, which may shock Providence a little bit. Expected maybe a little bit more zone. They got to keep going into Cycli. He's got Duda on his back. There is Cycli. Things will happen if they'll get it inside to him.
Douglas, a 3. And it goes to Providence. Trish touched it last. Derrick Brower comes in. And Jim Boeheim will give Cycli a rest and perhaps a little bit of a lecture, a familiar sight if he sits down.
Well, Brent, let me explain something. If Ronnie Cycli is not going to touch the ball and he's coming out to get it, then he can't be a factor on the boards. They've got to let him touch it on the inside, or else say, Ronnie, we're not going to give it to you, and then go grab some rebounds, because he's out of position for both right now.
Delray Brooks puts up a 3.
A little bit out of range.
Gets it on the inside. Misses the layup. Battle for the loose. And it's Providence's ball.
See Douglas battling for rebounds. He has a tendency to want to go in there. Does a pretty good job on the boards.
Donovan and Wright returning. That's Darrell Wright, number 41.
You know, when you figure all the assists and the outside play on the part of Douglas, he's averaging almost 2.5 rebounds a game. Moves the zone out of bounds. They go back to their 2-3. Nice pass.
There's Wright and Coleman rebounding with that long reach. Grabbed the ball, pulled it in for Syracuse. 23-19. 6:20 to go here in the first half. So Providence, which featured the three-point play, continues to be cold from outside.
I think that was that arm span discrepancy that Dale Brown talks about in regard to Coleman. They list him 6'10", but he does have those arms of a 7-footer. Nice fake.
The alley-oop, and Coleman's there underneath.
That's no basket. I don't care what the referees call it. You can't throw that ball up in the cylinder and let a man catch it. And if you're a coach, you ought to let him know about that.
Brooks off the fake. Bangs one in. He has 4 points here in the first half. They get it back. The 3 from Brooks not there, and Coleman yanks away another big rebound. So the freshman doing a senior's job on the glass here for Boeheim so far.
Boeheim's able to rest Cycli and keep him out of foul trouble in this one. The Rich Pitino, he already has right over there with 3 on him.
Off the glass. And contact underneath. They cut Coleman off that time as he came inside.
Brent, here's what I'm talking about. Now watch this pass go up on the glass. That ball is in the cylinder. You can't touch it up there. Any portion of the ball in the cylinder should be a violation, and yet they're getting away with it time and time again. Bobby Knight, Jerry Tarkanian probably watching this game. I guarantee you they'll put the bug in the referees here for a game if they play against Syracuse.
So the young man from Motown, Billy, breaks quickly. That's Derrick Coleman. He's the 6'9" freshman, 9 points, 6 rebounds already against Pitino here in the first half. He got more out of 2 for 10 against North Carolina in that East Regional Championship than any player I can remember, because he was such a standout rebounding. He didn't shoot that well against the Tar Heels.
Brent, you know, it's funny, the day before when Jimmy Boeheim was giving out assignments and he mentioned Cycli, you'll take J.R. Reed, he said he looked over and Coleman was really upset because he wanted to play J.R.
He wants to play Monday night, too. Now Ronnie Cycli comes back in, and he is 0 of 3 from the field.
The Orange fans like the job that Coleman has done. He's over there with Bernie Fine, the guy that does such a great job working with the big men from Syracuse.
Boeheim knows he's against Pitino and all that depth. He's doing much more juggling of his lineup than he has throughout the tournament. He's giving his men a rest here in the first half. He's up by 6 points. He has 4:50 to go. And Billy, the kid, cannot get untracked here against Sherman Douglas.
Well, you know that power play we demonstrated. I think that's something that Providence is going to have to go to shake Donovan loose.
There he is getting inside Douglas with a fine move. Couldn't get the shot to fall. And Duda fouls Cycli. They'll come up here and shoot because they are over the limit. And if Syracuse can go to work at the free throw line, they might be able to open up a little daylight. They are 5 of 9 from the line. Now, Providence has shot only 2 free throws. Billy, what does that indicate? Some people would say, well, it indicates that the referees are against Providence, but that's not necessarily the case.
No, they're banging the ball inside pretty well. They're getting good position on the defensive boards, and that's where the fouls have been picked up. You pointed out, Brent, Syracuse from the foul line. They're only shooting 65% in the year from the foul line, and they've taken over 200 more free throws than their opponents. So you can imagine if they were up in the mid-70s, what they'd be doing.
Well, you saw Duda sit down as Shamsuddin checked back in.
Flat shot.
Brower.
Nice fake.
Couldn't get the ball to foul, and it's taken away from Cycli, and here come the Friars. Down by 7. 4:30 first half. Brower with another good defensive play. Gets it to Stevie Thompson, who comes inside and scores.
I think they experience what love is all about because we give a great deal of love. I'm not a coach, and our players are not players afraid to tell our guys how much we care for them, and they give the care and love right back. The other thing I'd like them to take with a mentally tough situation, that it's real easy to be on cloud 9 when things are going your way. But when the job is not going well and the boss is getting on you, you're mentally tough enough to override that and go on the next day.
So Rick Pitino and the Providence Friars, who find themselves behind in this semifinal. That personal foul was on Thompson, his first, Syracuse's third, and screen. Although the freshman comes up to the line. Jitters continue to be a problem, in your opinion here, Billy?
Well, I was really surprised to see Rick Pitino call a timeout and then go to the freshman with a shot that really wasn't very well conceived, although he got away with getting fouled on the play. I thought they'd set up something specifically for Donovan. That press is still there. 10-second call coming close. Had to be awful close to 10.
There's that lob. Thompson getting up on it.
Thompson, a great leaper inside. He's having a good ball game.
Out of Crenshaw High School in Los Angeles.
And remember, on that 10-second backcourt violation, the clock doesn't stop the 10-second until the ball touches somebody in the front court.
Lewis. Loose on the floor. And finally, they signal that they will go to the possession arrow, and that belongs to Syracuse.
Good job by Ronnie Cycli. He's not having a big offensive day, but you like to see a big man hustle and go down on the floor for the ball.
Syracuse has built a 10-point lead here on Providence, but remember that twice this year, Providence built leads and Syracuse had to come from behind. Well, not here this afternoon. Syracuse has broken out quickly.
And remember, Brent, Syracuse has done a great job cutting off the three-point play, and that's where Providence can come back, much as people who watch UNLV coming back against Iowa. Nice dribbling by Trish. Jimmy Boeheim getting a big game out of Stevie Thompson. A lot of quality minutes here.
And he has used Brower for quite a few minutes.
Here's the defensive change now. Man-to-man by Donovan.
Cycli.
Good power move, but great defense by Dean.
Syracuse gets it back. Trish misfiring. And referee Rutledge says on the inline it'll go over to Providence.
No, your shot will come and go, but defense is always consistent, and that's what we're seeing right now. Defense has taken away the shot. Normally, Trish can make a jumper from that range.
Now, Providence has hit only one of its last 10 shots, and they have fallen behind by 10. Donovan's 2 is off, run down by Thompson, and Syracuse dominates a cold shooting Providence team here in the first half.
Nice help by Brower. There's the lob.
In deep with Cycli.
Give credit to Brower, thinking all along. He saw Thompson in trouble, came out to create a passing lane. Really made that play.
Trish right there with Lewis. They give Kipfer the outside shot, and it falls. It was a 2-point shot for Kipfer. 8 points here in the first half.
Kipfer was a star football player as opposed to basketball in high school, but doing a nice job here.
Douglas loses it. Donovan can't run it down. Douglas gets it back inside.
Steps.
Jim Boeheim sends in Greg Monroe and Derrick Coleman. Meanwhile, for Providence, Jacek Duda and Marty Conlon both return for Coach Pitino.
And both of these teams with 1:55 to go will be looking forward to halftime. This has been a hectic pace, even though the scoring has not been as high as I anticipated.
Duda off the fake.
Duda has limited talent, physical skills, but you see he's been well drilled inside with those post-play moves. Member of the Polish national team.
Junior national, I think it was, Billy, as Lewis makes the turn. And there is Duda, who defected from Poland to join his family in Rhode Island, following up an offensive rebound and a field goal.
Well, Trish doing a pretty good job helping out with his ball handling, which frees up Douglas to go all the way down court to be on the receiving end, as opposed to have to work hard bringing it up court. Those 6:30 a.m. practices have made Providence a club that's in pretty good physical shape. Push off.
Hammered. Duda came up in him.
Cycli got away with a push-off on that play, put Conlon right under the basket.
Well, the second one will match a couple of heavyweights, won't it? Jerry Tarkanian and UNLV against Bob Knight in Indiana. That's our second national semifinal. The Final Four unfolding here in New Orleans, and the winners will meet Monday night to decide it. And speaking of Bob Knight, Delray Brooks, who originally attended Indiana and then transferred to Providence, returns. Knight wrote him a note last fall and wished him well. Bob says he's one of the nicest young men you'd ever want to have around your program, but he just didn't fit in with what we were attempting to do. Delray realized it, and so he opted to transfer to Providence, and he has been sensational this year for Coach Pitino.
Lost a lot of weight, really committed himself. Doesn't have a lot of great quickness, but fits in very well with this program. Being at the right place at the right time now, as opposed to what was his case at Indiana. There was a version of the power play we talked about.
Donovan was looking for the three, and they defended it well, but Lewis gets one off, and it is not there. They're just not shooting well. The freshman Conlon commits an offensive foul. It goes over to Syracuse. Syracuse leads by 10 points, 36-26. They have been the more impressive of the two teams here in the first half. I think, really, the score pretty much reflects the difference between these two teams. The Friars haven't shot well.
I would agree. You know, a lot of people said, hey, when they finally get to the Final Four, you'll see the three-point play go away with a little bit of tough defense and pressure on the shot. That certainly has been the case for Providence so far. Jimmy Boeheim has really changed things up with his tough man-to-man, and I think has thrown Providence way off stride. Looking for 3-second different on the shot clock and the game clock. They will have to shoot the ball.
Trish tracks it down.
Smart move, pass it out, get reset.
Now there are 9 on the shot. Not quite synced up.
Off by 2 seconds.
Monroe's three. Rattles out into the first half. Syracuse over Providence by 10. 36-26 is the count here, and Jim Boeheim and the Orangemen take that lead to the locker room.
And knows he'll never come back as a college player.
Well, the clock is ready. 20 minutes now for Providence to get back in this one. They trail it by 10, 36-26. Providence attacking in their dark road uniforms. Inside, Kipfer couldn't get it out. Good inside defense by this Syracuse team, something they featured against the Tar Heels.
You can see that Rick Pitino decided to go inside as his strategy. I think he's got to go outside and get Donovan open. There's that 2-3 matchup zone.
Lewis leaning on Coleman. He comes across, and they go to Cycli on the turnaround.
Good patience by Syracuse, not to force anything. There's the screen by Duda.
Donovan's three on the money. His first three of the game.
There's the solid screen, gets Donovan open. Took Douglas right out of the defense.
And that defensive pressure, which can trigger a run. When you can shoot the threes, you can blaze away on a run. Trish missing, but The little man underneath. Sherman Douglas with an offensive rebound and a field goal.
Brent, the most underrated guard in the country. Probably this year has played better than any point guard in America.
Lewis misses the three. Now he's 0 for 7. Run down by your man Douglas, and he brings it up here for the Orange.
It was supposed to be a big hole for Syracuse when the Pearl Washington moved on. But I'm not so sure Douglas isn't a better player right now. This is what's tough for Providence. Now, they're not a good man-to-man half-court team. So Syracuse can use some clock and try to pick them apart. Go inside and then back out.
Coleman on the turnaround due to rebounding for the Friars. He went inside with that quick step and missed Monroe off the Donovan.
And that was
field goal.
That was a playground play by Douglas, but he pushed Donovan down on the hip that time as he was up in the air. Subtle play. This guy is street smart.
Knocked away. Douglas runs it down.
Good push off.
Monroe goes inside to Cycli, but the Friars were ready defensively. Brooks comes away, and he's fouled by Douglas. That's his first personal foul. Syracuse committed only 3 fouls in the first half, and would you believe it? None on Cycli. Now here's a young man who fouled out of 19 games as a freshman and a sophomore, and he played the first half of his initial Final Four appearance without a single foul, as Steve Wright checks in, and he'll be challenging Cycli underneath.
Wright had 3 fouls in that first half, so was not very effective.
Kipfer, and Coleman was there again defensively. Across to Monroe, who will shoot the 3.
Great cross-court skip pass by Syracuse, and Monroe knows how to post up over there in that 3-point range. Straight man-to-man by Syracuse. They've used it the whole game except in out-of-bounds situations.
Right, but no, he traveled before he pulled the trigger. Well, at the conclusion of this Final Four game, Billy and I will select a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the game from each team, and Chevrolet will donate a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of both Providence and Syracuse. That's Darrell Wright, 41, who is back in. Marty Conlon, 30. The freshman out of Bronxville also checks in for Providence.
Well, Pitino's showing confidence in that bench. Syracuse bench played a great first half, I thought, too. Brower was excellent in there. Even though he's not big on the statistics, he did a fine job for him. Oh, good pull-up by Coleman.
Monroe's 3. Trish hits it. Providence ball. At the 16:42 mark, it's 43-29. It'll be uphill against Jim Boeheim for this Providence team. Billy, the more you see the Syracuse team, the more you have to respect them. They play awfully well as a group.
There's a rub-off for Donovan. Just not letting him get any shots off outside.
Wright not there defensively. Here comes Monroe. They come out of the pack.
They say it's tough to beat a team 3 times, but this Syracuse club we're seeing today is a lot better club than Providence saw earlier in the year.
Cycli cold this afternoon. That may be the biggest negative. He's 2 of 7. Steal by Coleman, who's over the place, and then Conlon fouls him, and Coleman gives him a dirty look, and immediately the referee steps in.
Now let's see if they're going to call that 2. Let's see if they're going to call this 2.
About as deliberate as you can find.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be a 2-shot foul.
Coleman says, "Hey, man, you can't do that to me."
It's intentional. Got to be 2.
Isn't this the field where the Fridge scored his touchdown in the Super Bowl? Didn't Perry get one down here?
Is that right?
He did, yeah. Kipfer checks back in.
Well, I hope the Fridge is watching his weight.
Yeah, he needs to shed a few pounds like several of these Providence players. They should send him out to work out with Rick Pitino's basketball team for a while.
As an example, Donovan, that was what made him. He lost about 25 pounds over the course of the summer. It's amazing when, in regard to that kid. He only averaged 12 minutes a game as a sophomore, 3.2 points per game. What a turnaround.
Boy, they have rebounded well on missed free throws. That's Trish. Now, one of the reasons you're seeing that is the rims are very hard here in the Superdome, and the ball comes out a little bit further than it normally would in many arenas. You're going to see some long rebounds before this Final Four is over. Reaching in, and the foul goes against Monroe.
Now that's kind of surprising that Monroe would go in there, because Cycli and Coleman have completely shut down the inside game without help from the outside, and that's what made Syracuse effective. Here's another guy who had a great first half, Stevie Thompson. Solid game by Monroe. That big barrel chest.
They trap right in the corner.
Bad place to throw the ball.
Kipfer moves it. Great ball movement to right, and he traveled underneath. That's the 8th turnover here by Providence, and they're not being effective inside as they were against Georgetown. Why is that, Billy?
Well, 2 reasons. I think John Thompson said, I'm not going to let them get the 3-pointers, and he had no help on the inside at all. But today, Cycli and Coleman are just too good inside man-to-man for the Providence big people.
Now, that was the coldest half Providence has had all season long, and they stay cold as we start the second half. Cycli.
He's a little too fired up.
And Trish missing. Cycli again underneath. Chance for the 3-pointer, and that is going to be the 4th foul on Wright.
Cycli and Coleman just too much for Providence inside. And remember, we've got a freshman. Here we'll see Cycli going up. That's a push, but Cycli just too strong. And Wright just behind him can do nothing. Good job by Ronnie Cycli.
Rick Pitino has used another timeout. Ronnie Cycli of Syracuse at the free throw line. Providence has scored only 3 points in nearly 5 minutes of the second half, so their shooting problems continue.
Cycli was the MVP, or the most outstanding player, of the Eastern Regional, as was Donovan, the most outstanding player in the Southeast Regional. And that man-to-man continues.
Screen to the left hand, fouled on the penetration. And that's the first on Cycli.
Interesting, Brent. That's the second time today Pitino has called a timeout and set up a play in which Screen was the man that took the shot. Rick Pitino had a trip set to Disneyland for his family for this week, planned some time ago. But he didn't expect this nightmare here today. His club just has been not able to get it off the ground on the offense.
Now the pressure, and it'll have to be defense if they're going to trigger a run. Screen reaching in on Thompson, committed the personal foul. 2 team fouls against Providence and 3 against Syracuse here in the second half. Billy, you know, I suppose in looking for excuses, people might say, oh, it's the shooting background, the dome is too vast. But let me tell you, I've seen some great performances in basketball in here. That Georgetown, North Carolina game, you could have shot any better than that.
There's Douglas trying to go for that lob against, and that time, uh-oh, we got a real stick up here.
Delray Brooks and Douglas going at it.
I mean, we're seeing some fists thrown there, and
now Delray and Douglas are not down on the ground.
I'll tell you, that one exploded.
That's Duda being restrained.
Normally, Brent, when a fist is thrown like that, somebody goes, but it happens so quickly, I don't think the referees are going to throw somebody out.
Pitino furious out there arguing with one of the officials. Let's take a look at how it happened inside here.
No, it really takes place outside, going for the ball. And it's going between Delray and Sherman Douglas.
Now Duda stepped in there, and Coleman and Kipfer came in behind Coleman and wrestled him down. It was Coleman and Kipfer who were wrestled to the ground, but the 2 who started it are off to the right.
Great job by the official there to grab Duda and pull him out of the play.
Now Coleman and Kipfer are separated.
Nice
Howard
job by
Trish shaking hands here with Delray Brooks. So it was instigated by 2 of the guards, and then the big fellas had to continue the action. Now Cycli was one of the big fellas underneath. I think he's looking like a peacemaker there. Take still another view of it from an overhead and see if you can watch Douglas and Brooks get it on, because that's what starts it. Now you can see Brooks is trying to yank free of Douglas, who had him wrapped up.
The guy who really was out of line there was Derrick Coleman, who threw that punch. He comes from the backside. I think everything could have been settled down. Now watch this.
Watch Coleman There's the arm. See Coleman come in behind.
And there's Kipfer, who came from behind him.
Comes up behind Coleman. So, and I think Pitino was probably saying Coleman is the one who should be tossed out of this game.
I think if it hadn't happened so quickly and it was not one of those things that looked like it was premeditated, just all of a sudden came out of one little altercation. And so we've got everybody still playing, nobody thrown out. And here's where referees really have to be on guard for off-the-ball action.
So it explodes here at the 14:58 mark of the second half. Syracuse leading 49-31. Will this ignite Providence? Duda and Cycli fouled him, and quickly Ronnie Cycli picks up 2 fouls. And Derrick Brower will check in for Boeheim.
They listed that as his 3rd foul. I thought that was his 2nd. It's his 3rd?
They're saying now that it is his 3rd personal.
Remember, the 3-point play has not been a factor yet.
Loose. Douglas runs it down on the move. Dishes off to Thompson. And the foul on Lewis.
You know, it's really great to go down on a 2-on-1 break if you're Sherm Douglas and know you have a Stevie Thompson who can catch the ball well on the break and then has that great leaping ability to be able to go up inside against anybody and get the shot off. It's a good finisher on the break.
Trish was fouled. Delray Brooks committed the personal.
You can see the officials are not letting any hand checking take place here at all. Trying to get this game under control in a hurry.
His first team spin.
Hands off now, both ways.
Trish maneuvers inside.
Good
Offensive foul.
Good call.
Paul Galvin's got Trish for offense. And now Douglas may have picked up a technical. They may have whistled a technical on Sherman Douglas coming out of there. He said something to Galvin, and they've called the tee.
Not a wise move. And here's Trish. He actually made up his mind to go inside regardless of what the defense was doing. A good job by Duda to hold his ground. Without question, a good call by the official. Looks like Syracuse has lost a little composure here, Brent, as opposed to Providence. They're up 18. No need to get shook up.
And Donovan will shoot the technical. He is at the line.
Donovan, 1 shot.
Now Syracuse has committed 5 team fouls, as has Providence here with 14:32 to go.
You know, I watched the original drill in the practice the other day for Syracuse, and what it was is working hard to prevent the 3-point shot. And it really is paying off today. They're going to have to figure out a way to get Donovan open to shoot some.
Screens 3.
There it goes. First one of the day. Some hand checking on Douglas.
He breaks free.
Going nowhere. Another charge. They lost their cool. Jimmy Boeheim may have to call a timeout here, Brent, just to get his club calmed down. Douglas is letting his head get away with it.
Well, Ronnie Cycli and Stephen Thompson will check in. And Douglas sits down. And Coach Boeheim calming him down over there on the bench. A little bit out of control here in the last couple of minutes. Donovan wanted Duda out of bounds. So, along with Billy Packer, I'm Brent Musburger here at the Superdome. And after this Providence-Syracuse game, it will be Indiana and UNLV. And the foul going against Providence. Reaching in was Lewis, his 2nd.
Ronnie Cycli almost was frozen in cement there as that loose ball was on the floor. He was lucky to get himself fouled.
Team 6.
Yeah, real good move by Jimmy Boeheim to take Douglas out of the game, let him sit over there for a couple of minutes. Didn't waste the timeout, but he did get an opportunity to cool a man down.
Now, Syracuse has not scored since the fight. Providence has scored all 4 points here so far.
Cycli ought to pick that ball up and look to pass to somebody. Smart move. Here's what's tough for Providence, Brent. They are a zone team. They're going to have to go at some point, but they switched to man-to-man. Go man-to-man to force some tempo here. Nice move by Rich Pitino.
Monroe, after a couple of fakes, is short. Providence again trying to get it going.
Hey, 13 minutes, a lot of time, particularly with a three-point shooting club.
Thompson taking Donovan, tip for the screen, and Donovan goes off inside to Duda, who missed it, coming to the glass.
Great defense by Ronnie Cycli, not to come down with a chop. That could have been his fourth. Let's see if they're going to pick up man-to-man again. See, they show the zone, and Syracuse thought they were in the zone. Then with a little movement, you see they're in man-to-man.
Thompson and Donovan bang, no basket. Foul goes against Donovan.
It's the best game I've seen Stevie Thompson play in some time. He's been real positive on the offense.
Delray Brooks checks in, and Douglas soon will come back for Syracuse.
You know, when Douglas is taken out, he loves to play so much that he really stares Jimmy Boeheim down. That may be the only thing he has yet to learn to prevent that's preventing him from being just an absolutely super guard. He's got to calm down a little bit when he gets angry. He almost gets stubborn.
Short of everything on the free throw.
Thompson, not a good free throw.
But not that bad.
No.
Might add.
What do you see? He pulls his hand back on it. Watch how he pulls his hand back all the time.
It's like he wanted to hold it back on a string.
Yep. Just doesn't have a good smooth stroke.
Here's the three from Lewis. He can't get it going, and Duda bangs into Douglas and commits his third.
You know, Douglas, DC player of the year, as a matter of fact, wanted to go to Georgetown, didn't get a look there. Then he goes up to Syracuse and looks like he's going to be maybe a fill-in guard, maybe a role player over his career, and has now blossomed into a truly superstar.
Now Greg Monroe replaces Stevie Thompson.
It's a young Syracuse team.
Sharon Douglas.
Say that before. That interior there was Cycli and Coleman. You've got a freshman and a junior. Douglas is just a sophomore. Stevie Thompson just a freshman.
Providence comes away. Now Lewis in the tournament was 11 for 29 with the threes, as Delray is still short. Today, Lewis is 0 of 6. They continue to struggle. They are 3 of 14 in shooting threes. Now here comes Donovan. Brooks and Douglas got a hand on it. So if you joined us late, summary of this Final Four game would look like this. Syracuse 42% of the field, and Providence continues to have difficulty with the threes. Ronnie Cycli of the Orangemen has scored 12 points here this afternoon. He has averaged better than 20. And finally, a three falls for Brooks.
You know, Delray has been shooting that three a couple of steps too far. Good defense that time by Pop Lewis, and Jimmy Boeheim says that's enough. I'm taking the time.
Really, Syracuse has not scored since that fight broke out. It was 49-31. Providence has scored 7 points since that incident. It may have ignited the Friars a little bit.
Nice ball fake.
Beautiful running shot by Delray Brooks. 9 points for Brooks. Loose. Douglas banged down to the floor hard. And that's 15 turnovers for Syracuse in this game. And Providence closes to within 9 points.
You remember what Pitino said before the game? We've got to score in order to get in our press. They've been scoring of late. That makes the press effective because they can always set up. This reminds you a little bit of the Iowa-Vegas game. Here comes the weave.
On the turnover, Monroe busts out. Douglas is on his right. Nice feed, and there's a foul away from the ball.
Big play here. Are they going to count the basket plus give 2 shots? This could be a 4-point play. He may say that the foul took place before the basket, which just means 2 shots for Monroe, but otherwise, let's see if he's going to count. Big call here. Great steal. You're going to see Donovan's going to foul Monroe, which is going to be a 2-shot foul right there. Yeah, he fouled before the basket. The basket should not count.
Shooting 2, number 11, Greg Monroe.
Now they're going to count that field goal up on the scoreboard.
Brent,
and this is how Pitino reacted.
I would agree with Pitino on this one. The foul was committed before the shot was released. Therefore, that shot should not count.
It's a 3-point play in total. It's 52-40 here at the 11:30 mark.
But Donovan sees the whole floor. Boy, he looks straight ahead and he can make a pass to anybody. He visualizes where all 4 teammates are. Out of range.
3 way off the mark, and Douglas comes out.
Oh, what a move.
Trish to Coleman. And Coleman fouled by Brooks.
Did you see where Douglas pushed that ball all the way across court and went and chased it down? Normally you'd say a guy's totally out of control, but he sees the court well.
20 Carlson screen, and number 30, Marty Conlon returns the lineup.
Conlon returns for Providence. Providence had closed to within 9. Now they're down by 12, and Coleman at the line to shoot a pair of free throws. Both teams over the limit. 11:10 to go.
Brent, the momentum swing on that one steal is amazing. As you pointed out, Syracuse had not scored a field goal from the time the fight had taken place.
It'll go off Trish's hands, and so it's over to Providence.
They still haven't run a lot of screens for Donovan. Really surprises me.
Wright gets inside off balance. Screen comes away. Gets into Wright, and now it's Conlon underneath. Aggressive boarding by Providence.
Trish just didn't block out. Dangerous pass cross court in front of that basket.
A lot of time left here, Billy, an 11-point lead and 10:23.
I think Syracuse has to start going back inside again now that Providence, there it is, to Cycli. Good move. Go back inside now that Providence is man-to-man. Force them to play Cycli and Coleman on the inside.
Duda.
And you can see, likewise, Syracuse are trying to get Cycli, get him out of there in foul trouble.
Lead pass to Trish. Gets it back to Douglas.
Good fundamental catch and a jump stop on that play. That's why Trish didn't walk.
Hands up! Hands off both ways!
Contact as Douglas and Wright collide. And they'll be shooting 1-1. Douglas will have a 1-1 with Derrick Brower and Stephen Thompson. Checking back here for the Orangemen at the 9:36 mark. Since this game began, Jim Boeheim using his bench more than he normally has in the tournament, realizing that against Rick Pitino, a man he knows so well, that he will be up against a team that goes 10 deep, with Ernie Lewis, 23, coming back in, and number 15, David Kipfer.
Brent, I think that Providence has one more run because I sense Douglas is getting a little tired out there right now. He's been forced all day. There's two, he misses the foul, bad on the jumper. Getting a little tired, and that's what Pitino wants. Maybe just to wear this club down. Still a lot of time to go.
Douglas has pulled down 8 rebounds in this game so far for Syracuse.
Foul is charged to number 15.
Not unusual. They said he's averaging almost 3 a game on the season. Just a tough kid. He can't believe he missed those 2. Look at him look up at that rim. You don't want to give a guy with this kind of heart a couple of chances. Off to the right end short.
Screen gives it to Duda.
Good block.
Coleman has been strong defensively, and here comes Douglas. Beautiful to Thompson. Threaded the needle with the pass.
Again, you like to have a finisher on the break. I'm amazed how well Thompson's catching the ball. He had all that tape on his hand in practice. He's taken it off and shedded it for the game and still has a good presence to catch it.
Knocked away by Brower. Donovan's three.
Push off.
Duda's offensive rebound, and Brower is charged with his first personal.
Brower doesn't have a point yet today, does he? He's played he's in the first half. Brower and Stevie Thompson came in, played 19 minutes. So although Boeheim hasn't gone to his bench, he's really gotten quality minutes out of Brower, who, like I said, hasn't scored a point but has been effective. As Jimmy Boeheim told Douglas to pass and go through, he wants to see what the defense is. Don't think Douglas saw him.
Deflected, forced to turnover. Here's Screen. Donovan's on his right. Screen didn't see him in time, but he took it for the layup anyway. Scored and drew the foul. That's 3 personals on Douglas.
Brent, as I said, I think Douglas is getting a little tired, both mentally and physically, out there on the floor right now. Now, Jimmy Boeheim was calling for a set play, but he couldn't tell whether Providence was in their zone or really playing a man-to-man. He wanted Douglas to pass and go through to see the defense, but it was too late.
Big difference at the line, a 9-point edge for Syracuse. They lead the game 58-46 with Howard Trish, one of the co-captains, replacing the other co-captain, Greg Monroe. Now Screen with 11 points for the Friars this afternoon. He's hit 4 free throws. Good pass to Trish.
And who gets the rebound?
Underneath, and it's knocked away, and Friars will come out. Conlon's pass overlet his man and Trish, but there is a personal foul, and it's going to go against Coleman. And the winner of this game Monday night at 8 Eastern time will play the winner of our upcoming contest between UNLV and Indiana. That's still ahead of us this afternoon. The Shark goes against the General. UNLV, Indiana next.
For Providence, number 20, Carlton Screen, shooting 1-1.
Do you get the feeling, Brent, that there's a little momentum going here?
Well, I've had it ever since the fight. Really, I think they turned on Coleman because he came in and threw a bit of a sneak punch, and I think that fired the Friars up a little bit.
A real key coming into the game to me right now is going to be Ronnie Cycli. And if you're Syracuse, you want to get the ball to him for the next couple of minutes. Force Providence to try to stop him inside to loosen things up. Douglas trying to do too much outside.
Here's Monroe. Foul is called against Providence again.
I think that's Wright's 5th.
So they lose their first player because of 5. Duda comes in, and Steve Wright leaves.
Wright, of course, has played very, very well. Had a big game against Georgetown and had played well against Syracuse at Syracuse, but could do nothing here today. 2 points.
Billy, what about Rick Pitino's work ethic? This team has worked so hard all year long. How will that work in his advantage now, digging uphill with 8 minutes to go?
Well, I think he's a believer in what he's doing, and of course he's gotten his team to do likewise. They're in great physical condition. They're not going to back down at all. He's got the bench, so he's used the bench, and the players out there are much fresher than the Syracuse players. So I think Syracuse is going to have to go ahead and dig way down to hang on to this lead, even though it looks comfortable at this moment.
It is 11, and now we go inside of 8. Donovan. Cycli dribbles out with a strong offensive rebound, waits for help, and Douglas quickly arrives, and here's Trish.
Now they've got Providence in the man-to-man, where's what Boeheim wants.
Lewis comes out, but the ball went out of bounds. And
he called a foul.
Is called for a personal foul. Boeheim can't believe the call over here on the far side. I thought the ball had just been knocked out of bounds.
Well, there's a case where the entry pass on into the forward is just a little bit too long, which played into the hands of Pop Lewis, who's quicker than Trish. And what it does, too, Brennan, sets up if he can make this. Now, see, there's what he was talking about. Great call by the ref. Trish using his hands to keep Lewis away. But if he can make this free throw or these free throws, now they can be back in the press again.
He's had a tough day, hasn't he, shooting? There's his first point of the afternoon for Pop Lewis. He's a senior at Germantown High School in Philadelphia, and he has struggled here this afternoon.
Hit the shot that beats Georgetown at the last buzzer. Also hit the free throws to beat St. John's, break that big streak of home wins.
Back to 10. They lead Trish. Knocked away by Screen, who came in. Trish had an eye on the big fella, Duda, coming over. And Screen slipped around and picked his pocket. You gotta like this freshman guard, don't you?
I think Pitino was right and said that in my particular case, I didn't give Screen enough credit for that game against Georgetown, the Big East, that they missed him so much coming off the bench, and you can see why.
Away from Cycli, loose, and Douglas comes up with it again, and here's Monroe.
Providence just shutting everything off in the inside.
Keeping it outside. Screen had a hand on that one.
Had a hand on Douglas's hand, I thought. No foul called.
Now Douglas comes down with a switch off, and here's Cycli.
Come on, get up.
Trish cleans up.
If it goes, yes.
Big moment in the game for Syracuse. Providence attempting to mount a rally here in the final 7 minutes, and Trish gets one to fall, and he can complete the three-point play here for Boeheim with the free throw. David Kipfer and Delray Brooks into the game. On the floor, Kipfer, Brooks, Donovan, Duda, and Lewis for Pitino. Syracuse is starting 5 out there, and it is 63-51 at the 6:55 mark.
There's that good rub-off play for Donovan.
Donovan's 2 is short, run down by Monroe.
Coleman almost made the big mistake. He was out there, and Donovan pulled away, but didn't realize, hey, the most dangerous guy on the floor is the man with the ball. Those long arms paid him well there. A little spread out. They want Providence in the man-to-man. For Pitino, who was the assistant coach, to go up against the head man. Down to 6.
Loose on the floor. Providence comes up with it.
Kind of strange strategy with 6 minutes to go. Up 12, playing pretty well.
Donovan with the ball has struggled. He's only 2 of 11. Now Lewis swings inside.
It's 1 for 9.
Back to 10. 63-53, 5:26. Monroe inside.
Great pass off the dribble by Douglas. That one had to break Pitino's back right there to give up an easy field goal.
Almost got a beautiful layup to fall. Now you have to believe that the Syracuse team is going to get a shot at a national championship. They've got one in hand here, no doubt about it. They have held off this burst by Providence. They've got it down toward the 4:40 mark, up 65-53.
But with the clock, Brent, that ball was touched. Why is Coleman not going after it?
Syracuse ball.
Coleman thought if he touched it, it would be back
Now,
court.
wait a minute. Paul Galvin came over. We may have a change on this call. Take a look at this, Billy.
See, Kipfer got a little piece of that ball, which meant that it was a free for Coleman to go back and pick it up. He must have thought that it would have been back court. He fouls Kipfer.
Now, Galvin came over and changed the call. The referee came in and changed this call, and the foul is going to go against Coleman. That's his third.
Brent, think about the play there. If you're Coleman, even if the ball is backcourt, you should go over, run down, pick up the ball, because what can happen is you could trip and give Providence an easy play. So he really should have gone after the ball, not worried about what Kipfer was doing.
Yep. Get up, baby.
Makes no sense. He grabs the rebound anyway, huh? Semi-delay here by Syracuse. Exchanges. 5 seconds. Huh, is that what they called, or a timeout?
Now we got a timeout.
Oh, okay.
Here, Billy Packer, 65-53, 4:13 to go. Providence will have to start using one of the weapons that they used all season, and that's the three-point play.
Also, what they can think about is fouling, because Syracuse is not a good free throw shooting club. And there is a foul. Kipfer trying to go ahead and draw something on Douglas. Jimmy Boeheim's had a good game on the bench today as a coach. Seems he had his team well schooled in the fact of how he wanted to handle that three-point shot defensively. And now he's kind of playing with a yo-yo right here, delaying the game a little bit, trying to open things up.
Isn't it fascinating how many head coaches dominate assistant coaches after they leave them? Think of all of those coaches that Bob Knight has turned out through the years. And when they come back to play Indiana, they can't beat it. Think about in football, Paul Brown, a great master of the Cleveland Browns, all those coaches that he turned out, they couldn't beat him in football. And now today, Boeheim apparently going to run his streak to 5-0 against Rick Pitino, who was his assistant coach for 2 years. It's just one of the great fascinations for me. Donovan getting inside, pulls the trigger. That's something they have not had here this afternoon. That's 8 for Donovan, who came in averaging better than 26 points. He was the leading scorer in the tournament until this afternoon. But Boeheim's defense, which featured the man-to-man here today, has shut him down. And now the Orangemen begin to move in closer toward a shot at a national championship. If you're wondering how big this dome is where we are, you folks in Syracuse at the Carrier Dome, you know how big that is? We can put several Carrier Domes inside the Superdome down here in New Orleans.
It's unusual for them to play before more people than they normally play at home, almost double.
Monroe coming inside. Offensive foul is the call.
Now, talking about crowds, Syracuse this year set an all-time home record. 657,160 people saw them play this year in that dome. That's amazing, isn't it?
Great basketball city.
Syracuse not going back to the zone at all. They want to keep right out there and prevent that three-point play.
Douglas with a steal, and here they come again. General stays in command, even though he lost his cool for a short time following that fight which ignited between he and Delray Brooks.
I think he's got a lot of satisfaction stripping Donovan of the ball that time.
Syracuse bringing that clock down every trip now. We get down inside at 2:40. And Monroe is fouled by Delray Brooks. Cycli turns inside and draws the personal foul.
That's about all Providence could do. Good move by Ronnie Cycli to field a defender right on his hip.
Foul is charged, number 32.
David Sendeker, who had checked in for a brief time, commits his first foul. And Duda returns for the last 2:20.
Don't move after hands long. And 2 shots.
It's been a long time since I've seen Syracuse play where they didn't use the zone except on out-of-bounds situations the entire game. Stayed right with the man-to-man.
Ronnie Cycli's father traveled here from Greece to see the Final Four. A young man who took up basketball late, went to a prep school in Massachusetts. And he's one of the most valuable figures as far as this Syracuse march toward a championship is concerned. And the faces grow longer and longer over there on the Cinderella side as it may be pumpkin time for the Friars, but what a great run they've had in this tournament. Goes over to Syracuse at 2:11, 69-55.
Boy, for young kids watching Donovan play, they ought to watch his eyes and see how he sees the whole court at all times.
2-on-1. Douglas has Monroe back to the little man.
Classic 2-on-1. Got to go for threes here.
Duda. Coleman comes away again and out of the pack with his 12th rebound. Here's Monroe. He drew the foul. Donovan was with him on that side, and that's the third on Billy the Kid.
Now, Brenton, no sense holding it up. They had themselves a 3-on-1 break.
Pitino calls a timeout. 1:47. Syracuse closing in on a shot at a title. Overhead view of the granddaddy of the Dome stadiums here in downtown New Orleans. So we'll move Syracuse ahead. They've got 1:47 to run the clock out, and they'll play the winner of our second game. And what a heavyweight contest that figures to be. UNLV and Indiana. Here's Monroe. He's played a smooth game for the Orangemen. They've got a couple of co-captains who don't lead in scoring, don't lead in rebounds, but they get the job done. Their names are Trish and Monroe out there.
Oh, Brower, who's had a fine game off the bench. How many times have they gotten offensive rebounds on missed free throws today? It's got to be 4 or 5.
Hard to believe that the team that had the Pearl in the backcourt, Raphael Addison, they couldn't get to the Final Four. Team without him the next year. Let's snap back for a moment to last year's tournament. Do you remember the two most embarrassing defeats? Sure. Number one was up in the Carrier Dome. Jim Boeheim, the Syracuse team, they were roundly criticized for losing to the Naval Academy. Then there was that stunning upset of Indiana by Cleveland State. Cleveland State turning out to be a little bit better team than you might have imagined. Who would have guessed or bet at the time that both Indiana and Syracuse would rise from those ashes and make it to the Final Four?
You mentioned Cleveland State a little better than we thought. David Robinson wasn't exactly.
Yeah, I would say so, kid.
Not exactly what did chop liver. Been honored here throughout New Orleans for all of his Outstanding Player of the Year awards.
The applause is for Coleman, who sits down. Billy, I think they should put the sports writers back in the stands and move the fans in behind the benches so I can see the pom-poms.
You're not going to get yourself in a lot of columns doing that kind of stuff. Or maybe you will.
Maybe. Yeah, you kidding? Got to make the sports writers pay.
All right. Oh, yeah, great. I'm staying off of this subject.
Screen comes on the inside.
He's had a fine game.
He sure has.
As a matter of fact, he's the only fellow that when you really look down here for Providence that say has played above what Rick Pitino probably would have hoped for. Been a rough day, particularly for that outside threesome that count on making that 8 3-pointers per game over the course of the year. They just haven't been able to get on track.
It was fascinating at practice yesterday with Syracuse. They played on the same floor that UNLV warmed up on, and they came out a little bit early, and they were really watching the running Rebels get ready for Indiana. And who knows, maybe it'll come down to those two on Monday night. Monroe is fouled over here on the far side. Had a great year, didn't he, Rick Pitino?
Outstanding year, of course.
Let's also remember for a moment that he has been on such an emotional roller coaster with the tragic death of his 6-month-old son a few weeks ago. That was on the day that they announced the pairings, and he was headed back, and they took him out the bus to tell him, and he was talking to me about it yesterday, and he said, you know, Brent, I really feel for my wife, Joanne. She had to drive back and forth to that hospital every day up in Boston, and she carried the emotional burden for this family. And then this team pulling it together and getting all the way to the Final Four. Certainly no disgrace in coming up one game short, although I'm sure that the Friars would like to have played a little bit better here this afternoon. They did not shoot well in the first half. Got into a deep hole and just have been unable to come back. Lewis is 3. A little late, but he gets one to fall. They are 5 of 18 from three-point land. Billy, we've talked about this balanced Syracuse team. All 5 of their starters hit double figures in this win. Of course, they'll be going to the championship game on Monday night for Providence. None of their starters are in double figures. That's a shock as far as Billy Donovan is concerned, but he's been handled by Syracuse all year long.
He has. He had another 20-point game against them.
So the final seconds tick away. I mentioned what Providence had shot during the tournament from the threes. It was 51.3%, and today only 28% from three-point land. The closer you get to the national championship, the smaller that basket's going to be. And UNLV would be wise to remember that when they come out here against Indiana.
Well, this Syracuse team we're looking at has only lost games to 3 teams this year. Michigan beat them at Michigan. Georgetown beat them 3 times. And, of course, Pitt beat them twice. It's kind of interesting at halftime to hear that, hey, John Thompson, tell us what's going to happen today. You beat these clubs 5 times. That's something about Georgetown, huh?
He's got time for one more lecture before this one's over. His ears are ringing.
Well, you know, Ronnie Slager said, I really sometimes get annoyed when he lectures me. But, you know, I think he's the only guy that Jimmy feels comfortable lecturing because Douglas won't listen. You know, he goes away from him.
Well, Cycling can talk back to him in English, Greek, French, Italian, Arabic. You pick the language. Cycling will talk to you. 3 from Lewis. Short. Screen.
Does a little tap
That's a 2.
dance.
He was on the line. Boy, he's played well coming off the bench. He's got a fine future. That's 18 points.
Well, you know, Providence has been the school of guards. I wonder if they haven't had more great guards than anybody. You start thinking about these. Ernie DiGregorio, who brought him here the last time in the Final Four. Jimmy Walker, Ray Flynn, who's now the mayor up in Boston. Johnny Egan, Vinny Ernst, Lenny Wilkins. I mean, they have had some guards at the Friars school. Boeheim smiles. That's something for history. Look at him. He's smiling before this one's over.
It's a good thing Syracuse didn't need a Herman Hareed free throw.
You know, Stevie Thompson really liked that one. He smiled. He said, that's the worst air ball of the day. I'm off the hook.
And Syracuse will play for a national championship.